I'm Francis Lawrence. I'm the director of The Hunger Games Catching Fire, Mockingjay 1, Mockingjay 2, and also The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Tinseltown elite just did the unthinkable. Steven Spin Francis Lawrence, two of the most influential directors alive, didn't just distance themselves from Rachel Zegler, they denounced her brutally, publicly, and allegedly with full intent to end the ascending star's career. This wasn't some faint industry murmur. This was orchestrated, strategic, and years in the making. The gossip had always been there. Zegler was difficult, entitled, disrespectful to icons who built the industry she walked into, but now Spielberg and Lawrence aren't whispering anymore.
This woman is extraordinarily woke, as everyone is in Hollywood, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
They're allegedly revealing everything bare the onset catastrophes. The prima donna attitude, the ego that engulfed entire productions, and the worst part? They're not doing it through gossip rags. They're allegedly doing it through back channels that truly matter: studio executives, casting directors, showrunners. Right out of the gate, Spielberg is calling her a set destroyer. Lawrence reportedly calls her a filmmaker's nightmare, and suddenly the term blacklisted isn't just fan conjecture. It's the industry's new favorite word when her name arises. Insiders are leaking call logs, people
like me who watched Disney princess movies when the world was okay and it was acceptable for us to dream about being a princess as a woman and meeting a handsome prince. But oh no, these big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince?
Crew notes frantic late-night messages from anxious producers wondering what to do next. The message: Rachel wasn't just a nuisance, she was a disaster. And now the town is reveling in the fallout. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear is the inside tale of how one actress allegedly torched every bridge in Hollywood, and how two legendary directors ignited the flame it started on day one.
And be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after. No, you should want to be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Spielberg, who has collaborated with everyone from Tom Hanks to Meyer Street, instantly noticed something was amiss. Zegler wasn't just novice, she was conceited, uncoachable, disrespectful in ways the crew said they hadn't witnessed in decades. She would dispute blocking notes, mid-scene grumble about camera angles, argue over line delivery lines crafted decades ago that she thought she could enhance. She'd roll her eyes when lighting techs adjusted her position, and allegedly refused reshoots unless her artistic instincts were honored. Now Spielberg has seen it all.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
He's collaborated with actual divas, but what insiders say infuriated him was her utter lack of humility she was handed. Maria on a silver platter, a role actresses would have died for, yet according to murmurs from the set, she acted like she was doing him a favor by showing up in Spielberg. He kept it cool, took notes, stayed silent. But once award season rolled around and Zegler's ego swelled to catastrophic levels, he reached his breaking point. Insiders say Spielberg made too swift calls to studio heads and told them plainly, never again.
And the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
And when Steven freaking Spielberg says that you heed, but Rachel didn't back down? In an Allure interview, she made a sharp jab at old school directors who can't handle a strong woman. Everyone in the industry heard the subtext she was targeting him, and that was it. That was the moment Rachel crossed a line. No rising actress ever. She didn't just lose Spielberg, she made him her adversary. Page 6 reports that shortly after that quote went viral, casting execs started branding her as high-risk directors canceled meetings, pulled out.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of like, I don't know, vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
Hardcore. They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
All because one man, the man was done playing nice. And let's be real, if the guy who gave us E.T. Jurassic Park and Saving Private, Brian, thinks you're toxic, you're not just in trouble, you're finished. There was no press release, no scandal headline, no dramatic lawsuit, but the silence was deafening. Hollywood has its own way of ostracizing someone, and it's rarely loud. Spielberg didn't tweet, he didn't vent to TMZ. Instead, insiders say he started doing what matters most in this town quietly, refusing to collaborate with her, and that in turn signaled everyone else to follow suit. Suddenly, phones stopped ringing, projects she was linked to collapse. Her team started scrambling, offering her up for roles she once would have been chased. For nothing, YouTube gossip channels started piecing it together. Zegler wasn't just taking a break, she was being frozen out. Channel after channel started calling it what it was, a blacklist bounding into comics, pulled a quote from her where she tried to flip the narrative, saying, "I have to be fearless and loud." It was meant to sound bold, empowering, but fans weren't buying it. The quote went viral for all the wrong reasons. TikTok comments dragged her for self-victimizing. Twitter users called her delusional Hollywood. Execs just rolled their eyes in their budgets because in this town, no one cares about your clapbacks. They care about your reputation, and if you've angered Spielberg and brought drama to multiple sets, your reputation is dead on arrival. Zegler's supporters tried to spin it as sexism, as ageism, as misunderstanding, but no PR stunt can cover up the stark truth: when every casting director ghosts your agent, you're out. And make no mistake, this wasn't just Spielberg being petty. This was the town reading the room. And that room was screaming, Rachel Zegler is a liability. Fast forward to 2023 Poland. The icy, stark backdrop of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes matched the on-set mood almost too perfectly. Francis Lawrence, returning to the franchise that grossed billions, was hoping to inject new life into the Hunger Games universe, but what he got instead, a replay of the Spielberg fiasco from day one. Zegler walked on set like she owned the franchise. Sources say she treated crew like subordinates and demanded last-minute rewrites on scenes that had been finalized for months. One report claimed she stormed off mid-shoot because the camera angle wasn't flattering enough. Another insider revealed she refused to wear a signature Lucy gray dress because it didn't align with modern femininity. And that's just scratching the surface. Production assistants on Reddit called the atmosphere toxic. One even compared it to entering a bomb shelter every morning, not knowing who she'd snap at. She allegedly rewrote multiple lines on the fly, forcing entire camera teams to reconfigure setups. Retakes dragged on because Zegler wouldn't approve anything without creative input. What should have been a smooth 10-hour day ballooned into 14 to 16-hour marathons. Why? Because Rachel wanted to debate the emotional realism of a fictional song lyric. Yes, really crew members, some of whom had worked on Mockingjay and Catching Fire, nicknamed those weeks the Zone, a term now whispered like a horror story among younger filmmakers. And then came the worst part, the performance itself. EV magazine tore her Lucy Gray Baird to shreds, calling it cringy, arrogant, and entirely miscast. Critics echoed the sentiment. Fans rejected her instantly, claiming she had no soul behind the eyes, just smirks and forced fragility. But the real blow, Lawrence allegedly agreed. According to leaks from Lionsgate boardrooms, the director bluntly told executives, "I'll never manage that attitude again." Think about that, a franchise director the same man who helped make Jennifer Lawrence a household name was done after one film with Rachel. That's not just a bad review, that's a death knell for future work. Because when someone like Francis Lawrence says you're a nightmare, that resonates through every lot in town. Late 2020, for one phone call changed everything. Francis Lawrence had finally wrapped post-production, and instead of celebrating, he made a call. Not to the studio, not to Lionsgate's PR team, but to someone who understood exactly what he'd endured: Steven Spielberg. Sources say it wasn't even a long conversation, just a few minutes of venting, but what spilled out? Allegedly one of the most damning behind-the-scenes exchanges in recent Hollywood memory. The call wasn't meant to leak, but a grip who overheard the speakerphone passed the entire exchange to a mid-tier YouTube commentator, and from there it exploded to Titans One Nightmare, same actress. According to the leak, Spielberg reportedly told Lawrence, "She weaponizes her image but has no respect for the craft." Lawrence replied, "She acts like she's doing us a favor. Okay. Like she's the franchise, not part of it. They weren't just commiserating, they were forming a pact." Okay. They vowed to warn others, friends, producers, agents, young directors, protect your crews from the Zegler effect. That's the phrase that's stuck in Hollywood. Hollywood listens to men like Spielberg and Lawrence suddenly. Rachel's name triggered red flags at Warner, at Universal, even Paramount reportedly backed out of a minor streaming project when Spielberg's assistant allegedly advised not advisable. And just like that, her entire momentum collapsed. Representation panicked. Her manager allegedly sent a desperate mass email offering Zegler at a reduced rate for prestige indies crickets, because if two of Hollywood's most bankable, most respected directors are telling people to steer clear, you better believe people listen. And quickly, Hollywood loves a comeback, but it thrives on a takedown. And when that takedown has Spielberg and Lawrence behind it, it becomes gospel and Rachel. She wasn't just on the outs, she was officially untouchable. Then Snow White detonated in March 2025 budget. $350 million, opening a humiliating $43 million domestic vanity. Fair's sources pinned the failure on Zegler's endless PR disasters. Disney had no red carpet, no junkets too. Scared she'd swing at another classic or drop another controversial remark. The fallout torched her last leverage. Facebook Reels claimed Disney slapped an internal "do not hire" tag beside her name. Insiders say the two directors met over lunch last week. They didn't plot revenge. They compared notes on rebuilding sets, morale budgets, everything. Zegler allegedly destroyed both, agreeing on a single line, "If the studios won't protect crews, we." Well, word spread at Lightspeed agencies got the hint, casting chiefs got stricter, and Rachel, she fired off a cryptic tweet. "Silence is violence." 10 minutes later, it vanished. But screenshots live forever. The director spoke softly, but Hollywood